Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Grand Prix Providence. I'm Gabby Sports, joined today by Luis Scott Vargas, and here we see our main match. We have Adam Snook, currently sitting at 2-0. He's going to be battling off against Adrian Sullivan, also 2-0. Nice glimpse, did you see there? Adrian just took away a token that he had on the battlefield. It's actually a picture of Rashad. It's a Rashad token.
One of the rare, collector's edition GG's Live tokens.
Yep. So we'll get you updated with deck names as well. But Snook is going to kick things off. Oh, it's actually going to get Hardness Lightning immediately. A Servant of the Conduit.
Yeah, and judging by Adrian's hand, it looks like he's on Jeskai control since he's got Radiant Flames and Jace Unraveler Secrets in hand. But he's got an interesting card here that most control decks don't play.
And Adrian is a well-known control player. Control is usually his weapon of choice, although he does sometimes choose to go very aggressive with his decks.
Cultivator's Caravan, something presumably indicating that Adrian's got creatures to crew it. Though actually, taking a look, he's actually not playing it as really a 5/5, playing it mainly as a mana source.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Adam Snook's deck and what it's looking to do in this matchup?
This looks very close to the deck that Eric Froelich played to an 8-2 finish in the constructed rounds last week at the Pro Tour with, you see that Grimflare already on the board, but Gnarlwood Dryden Grimflare and Traversal Ulvenwald as Delirium cards, and then Kalitas, Catacomb Sifter, and Smuggler's Copter as additional threats.
So here we see the power of Cultivator's Caravan as it has helped Adrian power out a very quick Jace, and that Jace is going to take care of the Grimflare, and now Adam Snook has no pressure on this board, and he's facing an active Jace as well. Looks like Servant of the Conduit coming back down, a Grimflare as well.
And so that Jace, I mean, that was reminiscent of Jace the Mind Sculptor. To, maybe not put too fine a point on it because Jace Mind Sculptor is a little bit more powerful.
Very generous.
I am known for being generous. But it still was able to set Adam Snook back a turn in terms of the creature he had on board, and then Adrian got to untap with a Planeswalker in play, which is kind of all control decks want to do.
All right, so Radiant Flames is going to take care of not one but both of these creatures. And it looks like Adrian is kind of exactly where he wants to be, right?
Oh, this is exactly what control decks want to do. Wiping the board, having a card draw engine in play. Because remember, as you just saw, Jace Unraveler of Secrets, getting to scry and then draw a card every turn, in addition to your normal draw step, means that Adrian's going to be able to find answers much more quickly than Adam's going to be able to find threats, assuming the game goes long enough.
Oh, and this is a bit of a desperate measure. It looks like that Hissing Quagmire animating to try to attack that Jace, but instead it's just going to mean a Galvanic Bombardment. And so not only did he not attack the Jace, he also lost the land in that exchange.
Oh yeah, that was not a good turn for Adam Snook. He had to go for it, if he didn't have another threat to play. But spending 4 mana and a turn to trade for Adrian's 1 mana spell when Adrian has an active Planeswalker in play, not a great exchange.
All right, so now here the Harbinger coming down for Adrian. Is there anything particularly spicy that Adrian can get with this Nahiri?
Linvaldi, Preserver, and Torrential Gearhulk seem like the best options. Mostly Nahiri looks like a value card. You can also -2 it. Remember, she does kill tapped artifacts, so she is a way to remove a vehicle like Smuggler's Copter. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nahiri started seeing a little bit more play than she did in the prior standard.
All right, so we're going to see a draw from Adam. He's facing a lot of pressure, and it looks like a Verdurous Gearhulk coming down for him. Cannot distribute the counters anywhere but itself.
And that just can't feel good for Adam, because at the very worst, Adrian can just use Jace Unraveler Secrets to bounce your 5-drop, activate Nahiri, still get a draw for your turn. This is just not going well for Adam.
There you see Verdurous Gearhulk, one of the new additions from Kaladesh. At its best when it has a couple more creatures that it can distribute counters on, though it can always target itself. Though in this situation, like you've mentioned, it's looking quite bad. This Nahiri continuing to tick up, now up to 8. Adrian continuing to make use of the ability, gets to discard a land and see what he found on top. It looks like a Linvala.
Yeah, and Adrian's got a Quarantine Field in hand too. Adrian is pretty flush with answers. He's got a lot of ways he can handle this. He can Jace back the Verdurous Gearhulk and then keep, play Linvala or just even not play Linvala, just have cards in hand. Though getting to play Linvala and then crew the Cultivator's Caravan could be pretty sweet.
All right, so that Jace does take care of that Verdurous Gearhulk, and the Grimflayer was a draw for Adam, but he cannot deploy both things at the same time, and if he goes ahead and plays a Verdurous Gearhulk again, it's going to meet the same fate.
Adrian also sitting on a Blessed Alliance, which means that even if Adam were to get to a point where he could start attacking, Blessed Alliance would stop that.
All right, so it looks like Adam's going to lead things off with a Grimflayer. And nothing else. It's going to be an uphill battle. Adrian's going to crack that Evolving Wilds, getting an island.
And I do have to say that in the basic lands power rankings, Landbox Mountain, Urza's Saga Island, and Portal Plains do not rank highly.
The combination of them, too, is interesting. Well, what is the highest ranked?
Well, Guru, I mean, showed us that last week, and he won the Pro Tour as a result. I think that the correlation there is obvious.
That's the only reason. All right. What about the random mountain that wasn't?
That's true. The random mountain that Shota had, afterwards actually he tweeted out a picture of a bunch of Guru mountains, so I think he put his Pro Tour winnings to good use.
There you go. We're going to see a draw from Adrian. It's a Wandering Fumarole.
And Adrian gets to see so many cards now. He can scry with Jace and then draw a card. He can discard and draw with Nahiri. It seems implausible that he would run out of answers, and that Grim Flare doesn't even have Delirium. He can just die to a Galvanic Bombardment.
Yeah, it's not even like that close to Delirium, unfortunately for it. Wandering Fumarole is the land for Adrian this turn.
Oh, actually I made an analysis error on a prior turn. It's actually an Odyssey Plains, not a Portal Plains.
Oh, okay. All right.
I get one per day, and that was my one.
Okay. It's early in the morning, so that's unfortunate
wow,
for you.
I used it pretty early, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, just spewing it off. So if you're Adam here, what are you thinking when you're facing this kind of board? Is there...
I'm mostly thinking what I'm going to sideboard in.
All right.
Because, Adam has to keep playing the game. He definitely should be attempting to finish this off. But this is one of those games you feel obliged to play because you have a very small % chance to win that isn't 0. Mm-hmm. But you don't really feel like you're going to win the game. And Adrian just has all the cards he needs to close this out. The fact that he could just Nahiri out a Gearhulk, Torrential Gearhulk, replay a Galvanic Bombardment, Gearhulk bounces back to Adrian's hand at end of turn, it's really hard to imagine a sequence of draws from Adam and Adrian that combine well for Adam.
And we're going to see a Nahiri Ultimate. Torrential Gearhulk. We saw him make an amazing appearance at the Pro Tour. And also making an appearance here in Adrian's deck. It's going to flash back the
looks like the Harness
Lightning, yeah.
And as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. That is, I believe, what...
Wasn't it when it rains, a gear pours?
Oh, yeah, when it rains, a gear
That's how I was informed of it.
Yeah. Well, looks like things won't go quite as smoothly as Adrian was hoping.
Yeah, so that Blossoming Defense is going to be able to protect the Grimflayer. That said, still look at this board, though.
And because the Blossom Defense actually counters the Harness Lightning, Adrian's energy doesn't even tick up at all. Not that that is a huge issue for him, but he would have rather gotten a little bit of energy out of the deal. But remember, Nahiri's Ultimate means that Gearhulk will return to Adrian's hand end of turn and has Flash, so you could just replay it and play like a Galvanic Bombardment.
If you are interested in playing some Vintage Plus, please...
There you see Blossoming Defense on the right. One of the new additions from Kaladesh, target creature control gets +2/+2, but it also gets Hexproof until end of turn, so in this case, that's why it was able to counter the energy that Adrian could have gotten.
Blossom Defense, pretty powerful new card. These black-green decks, despite being somewhat mid-rangey, just playing 3 to 4 copies of this combat trick because it's so effective at protecting your high-impact creatures.
The other thing to note, too, is that these black-green decks, a lot of times you see these be very attrition-based, but these are playing a lot of creatures, things like Grimflayer, so there is much of a benefit to protect them. All right, so it looks like Grasp of Darkness.
That does actually threaten to take down the Gearhulk in conjunction with Grimflayer.
And I think it's going to go through. Grasp of Darkness on the right gives the Colossus -4/-4 until end of turn. All right, so that Colossus, the Gear Hulk rather, not meeting quite a good fate.
No, and Adrian couldn't even protect it with a removal spell because that Grimflayer still has hexproof from earlier in the turn.
So Quarantine Field coming down and is able to only take down one of the Grimflayers. The other one still has hexproof. Man, hexproof have done a lot of work in
hexproof like
in
has
this turn.
triple value this turn somehow. So this enters the battlefield with X counters on it. It can only target permanents the opponent controls. So Adrian played it with X equals 2. One of the creatures, the Grimflayers, at hexproof, so it will exile the other one, but you just won't be able to pick anything else. It does have an extra counter on it.
Just for value.
Yeah, you could use was it an animation module to put more isolation counters on it.
All right, we're going to see a pass back to Adam. So the Grimflayer doing triple duty there, but things are still looking quite grim here.
And I believe Adam has 3 different card types in his graveyard for Delirium. He has land, instant, and creature. So that Grimflayer is still not big enough to survive a Galvanic Bombardment. And I don't think this is going to work out the way Adam is planning.
All right, so Virtuous Cure Hulk coming down. Yeah, it could threaten to put counters on the Grimflayer, though. We know that Adrian has a Galvanic Bombardment in his hand.
Yeah, and Adam has to choose how he's distributing the counters, and then Adrian gets to respond here. And Adam has incentive to put counters on that Grimflayer now, so I think a couple of these counters at the very least are gonna
be wasted.
Yeah.
So still deciding how he wants to split up these counters. He's gonna go 1 and 3. And it looks like Adam had a pretty good read there, that all he needed to put really there was 1 counter, but he is going to go ahead and lose it.
Yeah, that was a good play from Adam. I still think it's going to be an uphill battle here, but he's trying. I mean, this last turn was decent for him.
I will say there's also a benefit to continuing to play against Adrian, and Adrian is known for putting a lot of unconventional cards in his deck. He'll play a lot of random one-ofs that he feels are pretty good, based on the meta, based on what he expects to see and face that weekend. So you never know, you might run into a card that you really didn't think he was going to be playing, and you might see it if you continue to play it out.
Yeah, getting more information is always valuable.
Evolving Wilds for Adrian. We're going to see a pass back to Adam.
So Adrian does have Blessed Alliance that can take out, make Adam sacrifice an attacking creature. One way for Adam to get around this potentially is attack with Hissing Quagmire as well as the Virtuous Gear Hulk. We'll see if he ends up doing that, because if he doesn't, Blessed Alliance is just going to take out that Gear Hulk and potentially gain Adrian 4 life in the meantime.
Catacomb Sifter is a creature for Adam this turn. It also brings a little Eldrazi with it.
I haven't seen as many Catacomb Sifters as when Collected Company was legal, but yeah, it's still a pretty strong card.
Oh yeah, and this is not going to work out for Adam. Down comes Blessed Alliance. Looks like we're going to see some escalate as well.
Yeah, that did escalate pretty quickly there.
Well, Adam does get the scry out of that because of the Catacomb Sifter, and he does not like what he sees, so he's going to push it to the bottom.
So at this point, Jace Unraveler of Secrets has been in play for 5 turns, about to be 6. And that is a lot of Jace activations.
Oh yeah, that Jace has done a lot of work. Between keeping itself Nahiri alive and just continuing to slow down Adam, it's been a team player.
And also, if you just look at the total number of cards Adrian has seen and has access to, it dwarfs what Adam has. I mean, Adam has 5 lands, a card in play, and a card in hand, plus a token. So he's like 7 cards and a token. Adrian has 10 cards in play, 4 cards in hand, and the fact that he has more cards in his graveyard means he even saw more cards. So Adrian's in really good shape here.
Jace, a card that we haven't seen too much in Standard. Is this the kind of shell that you want to put it in?
Yeah, we saw like Shota Yasuoka playing like 1 copy in the main and 1 in the board, and I expect these like 3-color blue control decks to look at Jace as a potential threat, but Jace at 5 mana is not the kind of card you're going to see like 3 or 4 copies of very often.
All right, so Linvala coming down for Adrian. It also brings an angel with it. Catacombs, after bringing that Scion, seems like it was a little bit of a setback here for Adam.
Yeah, he could have sacrificed the Scion if he really wanted to, but I think it was pretty immaterial at that point.
Yeah, that was definitely enough. So Adam Snook packs it in, and Adrian is up a game here in round 3 from GB Providence. Looking at these players' sideboards once we move post board, who do you think this benefits?
Traditionally, in this kind of matchup, when you have like basically a creatureless control deck, the other deck tends to get better post board because we saw Adam draw Grasp of Darkness that game, and it was just not very effective. Gnarlwood Dryad is not a card that will necessarily do what Adam wants, and he does get to bring in cards like Transgress the Mind and Nissa Vital Force and Ob Nixilis, like Planeswalkers and Hand Disruption. Ooh, Scrap Heap Scrounger, that's a kind of nice one. So Adam's going to get more than Adrian will post board.
Mm-hmm.
Though Adrian could bring in various removal spells, kind of tune his main deck. That's more what these control decks do. They, especially the ones that Adrian's playing that has a lot of one-ofs, they more tune their deck rather than drastically change them.
So we will check back in on our main match and bring you updates as that develops. But in the meantime, let's take a look at even Petre versus Oliver Tomajko. Looks like we're seeing Teamer emerge. Both players are sitting at 2-0 versus Jeskai control, and we're deep into the game at this point. It looks like a Gear Hulk is facing down a Gnarlwood Dryad. That doesn't seem like a fair fight.
No, it's about to get less fair in a second here.
Radiant Flames coming down for Oliver.
The all Tempest lands that Evan's playing, they rank highly in the power rankings.
I see you're on look at the basic land mode after the last Stellar sign-off.
Well, the secret is I'm always in that mode, but now I just have an excuse to talk about it.
Take a look at this, though. That Gnarlwood Dryad is not going to go down without a fight. And in fact, an Elder Deep Fiend is going to be emerging from it.
I don't know how Elder Deep Fiend fits in a Gnarlwood Dryad since it's like a very small tree, but I guess it goes back to what vehicles do. Shapes can have deceptive, volume capabilities in this set.
You didn't ask a question about how Eldrazi do things. You just don't question it, just accept it.
Yeah. Now let's find out, are there any Kozilek's returns? Oh, there are.
There are, indeed. All right, so it looks like yeah, so it is being flashed back.
And Evan only had to flash back one Kozilek's return because that Radiant Flames will finish off the Elder Deep Fiend.
But the Hardness Lightning is going to finish off that Elder Deep Fiend too. So now both players back down to no creatures on the board.
So Radiant Flames got cast. It ended up killing the Torrential Gear Hulk on Oliver's side, but also killing the Elder Deep Fiend that wasn't even there when Radiant Flames went on the stack, thanks to these 2 smaller burn spells. So I guess the players just traded a bunch of cards.
Evan's going to be sacrificing the Devolving Wilds at the end of the turn, fetching an island.
I'm a big fan of the Teamer Emerge deck. I actually played it at the World Championships just last month, and it is a very, very fun deck to play. The format's significantly different now, and I have to admit I haven't gotten a build to where I would like it, so it's very cool to see Evan playing it, and maybe he's ended up in a good space, based on what he expects to see this weekend.
All right, so traverse the Ulvenwald. We're pretty late into the game, so it looks like Delirium might be online, and let's see what Evan wants to fetch here. And Ishkana.
Yeah, Traverse and Ishkana still powerful partners in crime. You definitely see those in multiple different green-based decks here.
And Oliver only has white mana on top here, so he looks like he's going to take the opportunity to go ahead and resolve this without any fear. A Smuggler's Copter coming down too. Looks like some spiders are going to be hitting up the sky soon.
Yeah, Smuggler's Copter is like one of the more exciting new additions from Kaladesh to the Teamer Emerge deck, along with Filigree Familiar, actually. And these 2 artifacts kind of help play into the game plan of the Teamer Emerge deck. They count as artifacts for Delirium and Emrakul, and Smuggler's Copter. The Teamer deck actually has a surprisingly large amount of creatures that can crew it.
Do you think Smuggler's Copter believes in, or sorry, do you think it's like a big advantage for this deck nowadays, or is it just Smuggler's Copter so good that you just want to play it?
It's more the second. It's more that Smuggler's Copter is just a high-quality card, and it just fits in the deck reasonably well. It's not a Smuggler's Copter deck the same way Red-White is.
So soon we'll get to take a peek and see what Oliver has in hand, but it looks like that Immolating Glare will take care of that Copter.
And note that the Ishkana and the Spiders also stayed back out of, I think, potential respect for something like, well, what Oliver just played.
All right, so Torrential Gearhulk coming down, and it looks like this match might still be a little while. So let's move back to our main match. We will bring you updates on what's going on over there. Once again, this is Adam Snook versus Adrian Sullivan, both players sitting at 2-0. Looks like Adam Snook has kicked things off with turn 2 Copter into turn 3 Catacomb Sifter.
Ooh, and Adam's got a Mondo combo. Look at that. He discarded a Scrap Heap
That is a Mondo combo.
to the Smuggler's Copter. And at some point, if Adrian kills one of Adam's creatures, then the Scrap Heap Scrounger can devour it and come back into play. Or you could just loot the other half of the combo. That would be exciting.
It looks like we might be seeing that. Seems like Adam is considering the Grim Flayer over in the corner.
And this draw from Adam is a lot more resilient to something like Radiant Flames. Adrian could cast Radiant Flames. It would kill the Sifter. Well, now he's added Grim Flayer to the board, it would kill another creature as well. But Smuggler's Copter in particular is good against Flames.
So this game is going a lot more like what Adam Snook wanted it to be like in the last game, and Adrian is facing a lot of pressure here. Let's take a look and see what he can do about this board.
That Cultivator's Caravan is working overtime because it does add white mana or whatever third color of mana Adrian wants to enable that Radiant Flames. It's going to get hit by Smuggler's Copter most likely if that happens, but Radiant Flame still does kill 3 creatures on this board.
So Adrian's sequencing out how he wants the rest of this turn to develop. It looks like the first thing he's going to do is that Radiant Flames for 3. Making sure that he takes down the Catacomb Sifter along with it.
And that'll give Adam a couple scries off Catacomb Sifter. Adam also has a way to stop.
Yeah. Defense.
Well, luckily Adrian planned for that.
That Galvanic Bombardment puts a bit of a wrinkle in that plan. So all the creatures do end up dying here, with the exception of the Smuggler's Copter, of course. And now things are kind of turning around in a pinch for Adam. He was in a commanding board position, and now he's not presenting a lot of threats. So Adrian is at 12, so he is getting to the point of the game where he can start putting some pressure along the Scrounger. Coming back from the graveyard, exiling the Catacomb Sifter, and crewing that Smuggler's Copter.
Yeah, that was just a really good sequence for Adam. This Scrap Heap Scrounger looking like a pretty good sideboard card in this particular game. I mean, getting to loot it away with Smuggler's Copter is always just going to be a huge advantage. But even past that, if you play a Scrap Heap Scrounger and Adrian Galvanic Bombardments or Radiant Flames it, you didn't really lose much. So that does seem like an effective plan for this matchup.
So Adam's still deciding what he wants to discard from that Copter. It looks like it's another Blossoming Defense. I think he might have a third one in hand, so he's kind of defense flooded. Gnarlwood Dryad is the follow-up for Adam.
And note, artifact, creature, land, and instant are in the graveyard, so Adam is on Delirium, so it is a 3/3 Gnarlwood Dryad.
Does Adrian have a way to deal with multiple threats this turn? It looks like he doesn't.
Adrian does have a Quarantine Field, but he doesn't actually have a second white. He's got Mountain, Island, and then 2 blue-red lands.
That's so clunky.
Cultivator's Caravan. Well, it actually looks like it might be an Immolating Glare in his hand anyway. Adrian does have Torrential Gearhulk as well, but it's kind of awkward. The only creature that Adrian can block profitably is the Scrap Heap Scrounger, but that's also the only creature who can Galvanic Bombardment. So maybe he wants to trade the Gear Hulk for the Gnarlwood Dryad. It's not the worst trade. Adrian is on the defensive, and just trading for an opposing creature does end up feeling fine.
So let's see what Adrian decides to do here. Looks like the Gear Hulk is coming down. Flashing back. Bombardment, and it is going to take the Scrap Heap Scrounger down. And I think we're going to see what you were mentioning before. Yep. The Gear Hulk getting in front of the Dryad.
Yeah, that was a fine trade for Adrian, but that Scrap Heap Scrounger will come back. So, Adam's going to be able to continue applying pressure.
Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. Gonna tick up and scry. Does not like his card. Just gonna go ahead and draw. I think he might have drawn a white source there. It's just an island. All right, so Scrounger coming back, exiling that second Gnarlwood Dryad. Are there more creatures for it to eat? There is one more left.
There is the Catacomb Sifter. Adam would lose, or Grimflayer rather. Adam would lose Delirium if he did that, but I don't know that that's a big deal. It doesn't actually have any Delirium cards in play right now.
Yeah, and we've really seen the power of Scrap Heap Scrounger as a sideboard card, especially against a deck that is trying to remove it with things like Galvanic Bombardment. It's been a very nice recursive threat.
Scrap Heap Scrounger seeing a lot of play in the standard. You have these Mardu decks that are basically just red-white splashing Scrap Heap Scrounger at this point.
I mean, it's essentially a black card.
Yeah.
So it looks like that Catacomb Sifter bringing a little Eldrazi with it. That's going to crew the Copter. He gets to discard a land, and Blossoming Defense is actually going to stop that Immolating Glare from killing the Copter, so Adrian's going to be taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah, knocking Adrian to 1 here means that Adam's got a lot of ways he can close out this game.
And here Adrian's going to have a very tough time coming back from this, especially with no Wrath is really going to be able to stop this, considering that there's a Smuggler's Copter in play.
And even if Adrian was able to kill everything, that Scrap Heap Scrounger would come back, jump in the Copter, and fly over for the last 3 points of damage. So Adrian needs a combination of a sweeper and a way to kill Copter.
It looks like he has a Blessed Alliance in hand, which could buy him a little bit of time, potentially.
Blessed Alliance does a good job of helping you survive by gaining you some life, but if Adam ends up attacking with too many creatures, then the sacrifice a creature part is just not going to do it. Like, Adam would still have lethal through a double-kicked Blessed Alliance.
There we see Blessed Alliance with multiple modes, and one of them being a target player gains 4 life. Though, as you've mentioned, it might not be enough here.
It absolutely will not be enough.
Sure.
I don't know why I chose that time to emphasize it, but it felt right. It's actually generally not a good idea to say absolutes because the board could change at any minute, like it is right now.
Like a Virtuous Gear Hulk?
It's basically just no payoff for being absolute, but there are its downsides. So it's exactly the kind of play I love running. Virtuous Gear Hulk is not going to make things easy on Adrian.
Definitely not.
Your name is Daniel Green. Your on-demand draft.
All right, so Adam deciding how he wants to distribute these counters, and he's definitely diversifying.
Again, Daniel Green, please report to the Jace banner.
Virtuous Gear Hulk gets to distribute 4 +1/+1 counters however he chooses. And it's a 4/4 itself, so he's going to choose not to put any counters on that Gear Hulk and distribute the threats elsewhere.
Yeah, in most cases, you want to just put counters on creatures that can attack this turn because it's like the counters have haste. But, as we saw in Game 1, Adam had only a Gear Hulk, so he didn't really have a choice. This game, he's got, a wealth of options.
The Gear Hulk is also a threat that needs to be answered on its own, so distributing the counters elsewhere just kind of gets you a little bit more for your Gear Hulk.
Also, even if Adam loses one of his creatures to this Galvanic Bombardment, he's going to be able to crew Smuggler's Copter with it and still present 3 attackers.
All right, so it looks like Galvanic Bombardment is going to be taking down the Scrap Heap Scrounger. Saying, all right, put your counters on things. Gear Hulk will be crewing the Copter. We're going to see a loot.
So Blessed Alliance would put Adrian to 5 and Adam will have to sacrifice an attacker, but that still leaves 6 damage worth of creatures to attack through. And Adrian does not have enough mana to animate one and Fumarole and block and kick and escalate the Blessed Alliance. So it's going to be tough for him to survive this
Yup,
game.
and that is gonna do it for this game. So Adam Snook takes this game, and this is gonna force a game 3 between Adam Snook and Adrian Sullivan.
And I do think that way that game went is kind of representative of post-board games, where Adam basically just gets to draw 1 or 2 fewer dead cards and one or two more good threats once he gets to sideboard appropriately.
He also just got a much quicker start. In the first game, he was very slow, and Adrian being able to play that Jace meant he could never really stick a threat on the board.
Yeah, exactly. Jace on an empty board is really tough to beat.
All right, so let's take a peek and see what's going on with even Petre and Oliver Tomajko. So it looks like the winner of that game was eventually Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver took game 1. And we saw Evan getting a Elder Deep Fiend into play, but that just was not enough to deal with the fact that Oliver had 10 lands and a bunch of gas in hand.
Yeah.
So, but I still think that Team Merge tends to have a pretty good long game against something like Jeskai. Just having the card Emrakul, the Promised End, in your deck is just such a huge threat against a deck trying to go to the late game.
All right, so Evan will be sacrificing that vessel, getting his first blue source of the game from it as well. The Botanical Sanctum.
But unfortunately for Evan, does come into play tapped here, so he's not going to have access to blue right away.
Oh, and that Spell Queller is going to eat the Tireless Tracker.
Oh,
no clue for Evan.
No,
that was kind of brutal.
Spell Queller is just such a good card when you can just snag an opponent's card and then just untap with all your mana up and just start pressuring your opponent. Like, Oliver is just ahead by so much now.
Yeah, and being able to stick a Gideon on this board is amazing for Oliver. So he plays Gideon, gets a Knight out of it too. And now Evan, with a relatively slow start considering what happened with Spell Queller, it looked like he was in great shape until that happened.
Yeah, I mean, Evan was getting towards Emrakul's stocking his graveyard. You already see 5 different types in his graveyard. So that is exactly what the Teamer deck wants to do. But Spell Queller into Gideon, all of a sudden Evan's under a lot of pressure. And having played the Teamer deck a lot, Gideon is just one of those cards that just shortens the game so much more than you'd like.
All right, so another land, another Sanctum for Evan. And this is what you were talking about. These creatures are bashing.
Yeah, Gideon hit for 7 the turn after it got played, thanks to the Knight and Gideon itself. So Evan's on essentially a 1-turn clock if he doesn't do anything.
Filigree Familiar doesn't look like it's going to be enough to stop this army of attackers from Oliver. All right, and then we're going to see a handshake. Oliver Tomajko takes this match 2-0 here round 3 in GP Providence. And let's move back to our main match. It looks like our players are finishing up shuffling. Do you think now that they're going into game 3, anything would change in their post-board games?
Well, Adrian has a slightly better idea of the threats Adam is trying to present, and Adrian has so many different options in terms of removal that I think he could easily make some more changes. My guess is that Adam has fewer different options because, I mean, you just have cards that are good against control and cards that aren't, and he's just going to have the cards that are good against control in. Because Adrian, one of the things that would change, if let's say Adrian had a sideboard plan that involved a bunch of creatures like Avacins and Spell Quellers or something like that, Adam might be like, all right, I guess I have to leave 1 or 2 grasps in. But he hasn't seen any evidence to that effect, so he's just not going to change all that much.
All right, so Adam with a turn 2 Smuggler's Copter, and Adrian's going to follow up on turn 3. We'll see. He was considering playing something, but instead it's just going to pass back to Adam. So if you're Adam, you're a little concerned about that line.
Yeah, especially since Cultivator's Caravan is such an obvious play, but Adrian is just going to pass, and this is the kind of spot where you expect him to play something, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like that Catacomb Sifter has resolved. The Scion's going to crew that Copter. Copter gets to attack. Adam gets to loot.
This is one of those spots where even though it feels counterintuitive, you can actually decline to attack with Smuggler's Copter. It is the sort of thing where if Adrian leaves up mana and you don't attack, you might be able to get a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, do you sniff out something like a Blessed Alliance or Immolating Glare?
Yeah, these are exactly the kind of cards I would be worried about. On the other hand, if you don't attack and then Adrian just has Harness Lightning end of turn,
you feel so bad.
Yeah,
Yep.
it just, I mean, you would have gotten your Copter Harness Lightning, but you just got to let Adrian use his mana anyway. But in this particular case, I mean, you got hit by Blessed Alliance. If Adam passed there, that would not have happened.
He did get to loot, which is not nothing.
And that is a significant advantage over something like Harness Lightning. You know, from Adam's perspective, is that he got to loot. Plus, the way Adrian played his Caravan plus a land this turn, he would still be able to cast it this turn if he needed to. Though, I suppose Adam would have more attackers, so that does change that as well. It's like a compelling deterrence, which is a...
That is an interesting inclusion. What zombies does Adrian have that could give that a benefit?
I don't believe he has any zombies. I think it is mostly just a 2-mana bounce target creature.
All right, there's he compelling deterrence.
It hits non-land permanents, I guess, is the biggest difference.
Yeah. Obviously, the bonus comes if a player also controls a zombie, but it seems like Adrian does not have any zombies in his deck. We're going to see a couple of Scroungers coming down for Adam and starting to pressure Adrian's life total, though Adrian hasn't taken any damage this game yet, and here he's going to take care of the first Catacomb Sifter.
Well, that was just going to end up being a 1-for-1 because Adam can attack Nahiri. The good thing for Adrian is that he might give Adam incentive to attack Nahiri with both out of fear of Galvanic Bombardment, but I don't know if Adam took the bait.
It kind of seems like he just pointed one at the Nahiri, so we'll see in life totals in a second, but that would have been a way to play around Bombardment. Looks like Nahiri number 2 coming down, attempting to kill that Scrounger, but Blossoming Defense is going to protect it. And we've seen Blossoming Defense do solid work.
It's looked quite good in this matchup.
Right.
I mean, this is one of the matchups where I'd expect it to be at its best, and it has performed.
It seems like Adam has chosen to attack with Scroungers both times to the Nahiri, because Adrian's still at 20, and he just did it again.
Yeah, and that is the safest play, because if you get your Scrounger attacking Nahiri Galvanic Bombardmented, then you end up with a Planeswalker in play that can exile one of your other creatures.
Looks like the follow-up for Adrian is another Caravan and another Vantage. And now Adam is back to a place where he can start attacking Adrian's life total. Looks like 2 mana. It's going to be an Immolating Glare targeting that Scrounger.
You got to feel pretty good about that if you're Adam. Like, you're getting your Scrap Heap Scrounger hit by 1-for-1 removal spells that don't exile.
Yeah, he can't buy it back quite just yet, but it is going to be a Curse of Sort later on in this game.
And they do such a good job pressuring Planeswalkers.
All right, so Jason Reveler's Secret's coming down for Adrian, but this Jace is not long for this world, as it is facing a lot of pressure from Snook's side of the board.
If Adrian has a removal spell, Jace can survive if he ticks it up. But that does leave him in a position where he's trying to kill Scrap Heap Scroungers with removal. I guess he could kill a Servant of the Conduit as well, but still, Adam is pretty happy with this position.
All right, we're going to see a pass back to Adam. Looks like he might have wanted to do something at upkeep.
So one reason that Adrian would want to upkeep Galvanic Bombardment, because that is the card he has in hand, is that prevents Adam from drawing a Blossom Defense. The problem is if you cast Galvanic Bombardment and it's countered by Blossom Defense on the opponent's turn, they get basically a bunch of extra damage that turn.
Ooh, and this Vital Force coming down for Adam, and Adrian lets it resolve.
Yeah, this is great. See, look, the Planeswalkers against control decks can be really busted sometimes.
Yeah, take a look at this. This forest animated and getting in there.
So Adam's attacking for 10. Might just be attacking Adrian directly, maybe attacking Jace, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was just attacking Adrian directly, and that would put Adrian down to 2 if Adrian takes all the damage.
So Adrian's still deciding what he wants to do. Not sure if he has a removal spell or not in hand, but he is very much on the back foot here. There you see this Vital Force. Her +1 ability allows a land to become a 5/5 elemental until the next turn. So yes, we're going to see a handshake, and Adam Snook takes down this match 2-1 versus Adrian Sullivan.
Yeah, it looks like Adrian actually was at 7 to start that attack, not 12. So that does mean that Adam was just getting very aggressive with Scrap Heap Scrounger the entire time, which looked like it served him well. The 2 Scroungers he sided in did some excellent work in those post-board games.
It seemed like they might have been the reason why he actually took down those games. They looked amazing. It's a good sideboard plan. In the meantime, we're going to take a look at Cedric Phillips versus Michael Fiorilli.
Yeah, the deck names aren't updated yet. Cedric is on Red-Black Madness. And we were talking to him about his deck earlier. He actually played this deck at the Pro Tour last week, and
how'd it go?
Did not go well.
Okay.
And then he didn't change any cards.
Okay.
And then he showed up here.
Is he feeling good about it?
He actually thinks it's well positioned. It's not that he wasn't going to change any cards. He just looked at what he expected the field to be, and he expected a lot of blue-white decks, and he liked his matchup against them.
All right, that's fair. So Inventor's Apprentice coming down for Cedric. He also had a Smuggler's Copter. He chose not to... this Copter has been previously in play, so he chose not to attack here.
Yeah, he was playing around his opponent, Michael, having Stasis Snare or Immolated Glare or Blessed Alliance. And, you know, Cedric is a Pro Tour veteran. He has a Pro Tour top 8 with Kithkin, actually, a mono-white beatdown deck.
All right.
And at PT Kyoto. And he has a number of Grand Prix top 8s. He's a very seasoned player. And I do think that he's going to be playing a little bit more cautiously than maybe we've seen just with Smuggler's Copter into a bunch of open mana.
Fair enough.
It's worked out so far because Michael Fiorilli does have Stasis Snare in hand, and Cedric has avoided getting that Copter caught up in the snare.
Yeah, there's a lot of hesitation of just burning your Stasis Snare to take down an Inventor's Apprentice, and looks like Weaver Lightning and the Apprentice getting in here for Cedric. Still continuing to hold back that Chopper.
And the fact that Cedric has Weaver of Lightning in post-board, because that is a sideboard card, means that Michael might be playing a slightly offbeat blue-white deck. And we even see a Heejin Crawler in the graveyard. So Michael's got some stuff going on here.
Panharmonicon?
Oh, well, speaking of which.
All right.
Oh, wow, Michael's playing the Infinite Panharmonicon combo deck.
All right, do tell.
So if you have Panharmonicon in play, and you have Drowner of Hope and Eldrazi Displacer, every time Drowner of Hope comes into play, you get 4 tokens, and you can sack 3 of them to displace the Drowner and just get 4 more tokens. So Michael's got an infinite combo deck going here. And
Michael is 2-0. All right, I actually really, when you have a deck like that, I'm always rooting to see the infinite combo. That's so cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, Michael seems like he's fairly far away from assembling that.
Yes.
But he is not taking tons of damage because Cedric is leaving that Copter back. Though, as soon as Michael taps out, then that Smuggler's Copter will be getting in there.
All right, so it looks like Reflector Mage going to be bouncing one of the 2 creatures. It's the...
Well, thanks to Panharmonicon.
Thanks to Panharmonicon. There you go. So Panharmonicon starting to do some work. Unlicensed Disintegration, though, takes care of this.
And here's Cedric's rewarded for keeping that Smuggler's Copter in play because now he gets that extra 3 damage off Disintegration because he has an artifact in play as opposed to if it had gotten Stasis Snared earlier.
Wow, Cedric misses a land drop. Well, he's missed many land drops now, but he still continues to have all gas in hand, and he hasn't played anything. So he actually discarded an Inventor's Apprentice, but he has 3 open mana. So what do you make of that of your Michael?
Well, the fact that Cedric is discarding a cheap card with so much mana in play does kind of indicate that Cedric's got a lot of cards he could play. Cedric couldn't play that in a particular turn because of the Reflector Mage, but it is a card he'd be able to play for 1 mana this turn. So it is a little odd that he would discard it.
Sure. Looks like Panharmonicon number 2 coming down for Michael.
One card I would really expect to see in Cedric's hand, especially since he's keeping mana open and not doing anything, is Unlicensed Disintegration.
So Insolent Neonate coming down for Cedric. And there we see the first Stasis Snare is going to take it down. Cedric doesn't even get to loot.
Yeah, that Smuggler's Copter eventually flew over, and it ended the way Cedric thought it would. So Cedric was as patient as he could be, but eventually he did send it in, and it did not work out well.
I like the play a lot, though. He was definitely giving himself good outs to both get more value out of the Disintegration / have a hasty attacker when his board is looking like this.
Yeah, that worked out well enough for Cedric.
All right, so that Insolent Neonate sacrificing itself at the end of the turn. Bloodhall Priest coming down for Cedric, and this is a beefy attacker.
Yeah, it's a 4-4, and then if Cedric has no cards in hand, it also deals 2 when it comes into player attack. Cedric's very far from that ability, but still instant speed 4-4.
Oh, and a burn spell from Cedric, and he actually takes down the match. I was looking. Wow, his board was he was a little mana screwed. His board was looking not great, but that's enough to take the game down.
Yeah, well, no infinite combos on this live look in here. Perhaps Cedric lost a game earlier to the infinite combo, but in this case, he got to play the fun police and just burn his opponent out with collective defiance.
Playing the fun police is definitely a fun thing to do, or not fun, depending on.
Well, depending on which side you're on.
All right, that'll do it here for round 3 from GP Providence.
Test drive the top standard decks from Pro Tour Kaladesh in the Pro Tour Gauntlet, happening now on Magic Online. For more information, visit mtgo.com.
Kaladesh is now available on Magic Duels. Build endless deck combinations with more than 1,000 unique cards. Play through hours of story with 50 campaign missions. Play Magic Duels free today on Xbox One, Steam, iPad, and iPhone.
Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Grand Prix Providence. Marshall Cycliffe with Jacob Van Loon. What was that quiz all about?
Yeah. Luis Scott Vargas.
Did you guess Luis